Is that working? Yeah, let's see. Is that working now? Can anybody hear?
Okay, so if you just now slowly start to open your eyes. Okay, so that wasn't the most quietest meditation practice. So can you hear us now? Yes? Yes. Okay, we're done. Okay. So anyway, I hope that you're feeling a little bit relaxed after that. So as I say, I'm going to go through each of these, either individually or sometimes in pairs. The whole point of these 8 verses is that they change your thought process. So that's not an easy thing to do. So, when you think and reflect on it, don't just let that but keep coming in your, oh, but it's difficult. Yeah, it is going to be challenging to change our thought process because we spent so many years just blindly chasing our thoughts. So when we try to bring our thoughts back under our control, it's not going to be simple, but it is doable. So you just have to put in the effort. Yeah, we just have to put in the work and change the way that we deal with our thoughts. So these 8 verses come from what we call in Tibetan, the Lojong practice. So the mind training practice. So these are like that Lojong condensed into like 8 words, 8 verses. So don't think that I can't do it. Just think that, yeah, if I put in the effort, I can do this. Yeah. So the first verse says, determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. I hold them most dear at all times. So I don't know how much you know about Buddhism, but I'm sure if you know a little bit, you know about bodhisattvas. So the whole point of Buddhism is not for ourselves, it's to help all beings. So if you are doing meditation and you're just doing it so you feel better, then it's not going to take you down the path. If you do any practices that brings you benefit or brings you merit, and you do it selfishly for yourself, you're not going to get the full benefit from that. Because when we do practice, we have to do for the sake of all beings. Of course, we have to start with ourselves. So when you start to train your mind, then of course, then you can help other people. But when we do any practice, you must then dedicate it to all beings. So if you do your daily meditation practice, then at the end, when you finish, you can just simply say, I dedicate whatever benefit I get from this to all beings. That stops it becoming a selfish thing. So many people criticize Buddhism for being selfish because it's all about being mindful and meditation and trying to change ourselves. Yeah, we are, but we have to be doing it for all sentient beings. So it's really important to keep that in mind. So in the Lojong practice, they have a great thing that I always try to do. And that is when you're happy and when good things are happening to you, just think in your mind, I dedicate all this and I want all beings to be happy like I am right now. And when challenging things come along, don't just get wrapped up in, oh, poor me, me, me. Think that I don't want other beings to suffer like me. Two really simple things, but okay, challenging to do because usually we get wrapped up in ourselves. When we're happy, we're full of fun and we're laughing and we're enjoying and we don't think of all beings. And when we're sad, because we're sad or we're suffering, we just focus on us and just think, oh, look at me, I'm suffering. So it just means here we have to change our mindset. It takes a little bit of time, but if you start doing this, if you start catching those happy times and think, oh, I wish everybody was happy like this. Okay, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be happy, but it changes your thought process and it takes you away from just thinking about me, now thinking about everybody. So every time you have happiness and you're really enjoying yourself, take a moment to just say, I wish all beings were happy like that. And when you're going through challenging times, don't just focus on those challenging times. Dedicate or say that I don't want other people to suffer like this. You see, there are two things there that are totally going to change your thought process. Now you are seeing that all beings are better than a wish-fulfilling jewel. We talk about this wish-fulfilling jewel in Buddhism as though there is this jewel and it gives you all of your wishes. Better than that, I mean, it would be nice if we had one, but better than that is other human beings because they can teach us so much. So it isn't about being selfish, thinking about ourselves. It's about trying to do whatever we do for the good of everybody else. So then that brings up kindness in us, in caring. It makes us think about other people. And so we start to see that other people are precious. I mean, we've had a precious human birth. They've also got a precious human birth. And I want to help them as much as I can. But first of all, of course, we have to change our own mindset. And those are two easy, simple ways to start to change your mindset just by focusing in on those 2 points there. Because the more that you do that, then the more that you start to consider other people. You know, in the four types of meditation, like equanimity, compassion. In that equanimity, we start to then break down, here's me, and there's everybody outside of me. Now we think me and everybody are one. So a lot of our problems come when we split this, when we see that we think of me and everybody outside of me. So like subject and object. But life isn't really about that. We are all totally interconnected. We all need each other. We can't go through life without other people in our lives. So there isn't just me and everybody outside. There is us all together. We are part of the whole. And that's how we need to start seeing ourselves. If we want to, go on the path to becoming a bodhisattva, or even if, we just want to have a less suffering in our lives and, have a more peaceful mind, then we have to break down this barrier of subject and object. It's not about, we'll talk a little bit more about this in the next verse, but I want you now just to take a minute, just to close your eyes and just to reflect on what I've said here and think about how, is it true what I've said? Does it resonate with you? Do you think you'll be able to do it? And then we can discuss it. So just take a moment just to reflect on those points I've spoken about. Okay. So then speak to me. What do you think about that? Is it doable? Do you understand why it's important? Do you have any questions? And people online as well. You can either unmute yourself or message.
I think, yes, when you are aware of a deep sense of contentment, shall we say, it's really nice to say, I wish others could share this. But I'm not sure that I could manage on the other side of that same coin of when you're unhappy. Yes, I think if something disastrous happens, you say to yourself, I hope this doesn't happen to anybody else. But with life's small trials, I don't think that way.
No, and that's because we've never thought of it that way. But now you've had this seed planted in you. Maybe, we have to start small. We are going to forget about it and then maybe a bit later. It doesn't matter if, 10 or 13, 15 minutes later, you then think about it, then do it then. It's okay. You see, the way we think is the way that we act. So if we say that, I want all beings to be happy in that, if we constantly say that, then that's what's going to be, driving us. It's like when we get up in the morning, if we say, oh, I'm tired and it's going to be a horrible day, then it's going to be a horrible day because that is what you've told your brain is important to you. So your brain cannot focus on everything. So it has to filter. So if you say to it that it's going to be an awful day and everything is wrong, then that's what it's going to show you, all the wrong negative things. So we have to change our mindset. A great way to do that is to set an intention in the morning. So first thing in the morning, set an intention for that day. What do you want that day? So maybe you want to make sure that you pick up on the happy times and the challenging times. Maybe you want to stay more positive today, because when you set an intention, that is what you're telling your brain is now important to me. And during the day, if you come off track, you can reset that intention. So by setting intention, you're telling your brain, this is what is important. So the more that you tell your brain that all beings are important, that is the way the brain's going to work. It will take time because we've never done this. We've just allowed ourselves to chase after our thoughts and our emotions. So by doing these 8 verses of thought transformation, we start to take back control. So setting an intention that this is what I want the day to be like is how you can move forward with that, how you can really start to change your thought process. I think somebody had even with my glasses on, I can't see this. I've got my reading glasses on. I've picked up somebody else's glasses. I can't hear you, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. So if you have a question, oh, that's you. Okay. All right, then if you people online have a question, but you can unmute yourselves and say it as well. Okay, so is there anybody else wants to say anything? Yes.
You mentioned the diamond. I'm not sure of the conceptualization. The diamond is the you that you don't see, maybe, and by doing these practices, you can get to being diamond. Is that correct?
The diamond, like your true self, you mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
The being that you see that.
No, so the wish fulfilling jewel is just that, you know, if you had that jewel and you had all of your wishes.
You don't see the jewel as everybody happy.
No.
Well.
No, it's just trying to say that, look, at if you had this jewel, it would give you everything you want. But what is more precious than that are all beings. Yeah. Yeah, so if you rub this now and the little genie came out, what would be more powerful than that, more precious than that, would be all beings. You may disagree with that, but no genie's going to come out, so you don't have to. Yeah.
Yeshe, just reciting this paragraph, even without that intention, it still has value. Yeah.
Because the more that you recite it, the more that then you'll start to think like it. So the brain the brain is like a pattern machine, isn't it? It picks up on patterns. So if you keep saying something, you know, even if, you know, you're just doing it parrot fashion to start with, it will change your thought process in the end. It'll become a habit. So, and our habits become our patterns of behavior, don't they? So then it will become who we are. The more you do it, that is who you'll become. And it will then be second nature. You won't have to think, oh, hang on, I better dedicate this, or I better say, I don't want people to be like that. It'll become a habit. Yeah. Okay, so then let's look at verse 2. Wherever I am and whoever I am with, I always consider myself the lowest of all, and from the depth of my heart hold others dear and supreme. Okay, so this is where people always have a good argument with me about this. Remember, I didn't write this, but people always say, hang on, I'm putting myself down and other people up. It's not really talking about that. It's not saying that you are worthless and everybody else is worth more than you. I mean, it reads like that. You know, we have self-compassion, we have self-care. But remember what I just said about subject and object. It isn't me and other people. It is us as a whole. We are part of that. So it isn't like compassion for others and self-compassion. It's compassion. And I am part of that. So it isn't saying that you shouldn't care for yourself because we must, and it isn't saying that we shouldn't protect ourselves if, we're attacked. But what it's trying to do is just eat away a little bit at that ego. Because a lot of the time when people say things to us, that ego comes up and then we get hurt, even though that is just their perception. So I was talking today when we were in the restaurant about when I release new books, because I don't teach and I don't write in a real traditional way, I always get trolled. And somebody was asking, well, does that upset you? No, it doesn't, because it is just somebody else's viewpoint. I've written a book and give my viewpoint. They have now put their viewpoint. It's okay. So, but what mostly happens for us when somebody criticizes us or somebody says something to us, then that ego jumps in. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to break down this sense of pride and me. So it is not trying to put across that you are worthless. You're not. But it's just trying to say, and it's just carrying on from verse 1 really, that everybody is precious and we need to start seeing that. Just imagine if you saw everybody the same, you wouldn't hit them, you wouldn't abuse them, you wouldn't steal from them, you couldn't. But because we have this discrimination and our own perceptions and our biases, that's what gives us the opportunity to attack people. So if you saw a dog and it was a little brown dog, and over there was a big white dog, and over there was a black dog, you would say, dog. Yeah. When it comes to us, you say white, black, tall, short, Indian, English. Yeah. We don't see human being, but we see dog. No matter what shape or size they are dog. Humans are not. This is what we have to try to break down. We have to start to see people as human beings and not judging and classifying them as this. Because as soon as you start to classify, then you start to think that they are that and I am this. I am taller, they are shorter. I am stronger, they are weaker. We start to split this subject and object. When you see people as exactly the same as you, and to do that, we have to start to see people better than us, because it starts to break down that ego. But when we started to break down the ego, we can understand that we are all one. We are all human beings. That's what we are. It doesn't matter if you have hair, you don't have hair, if you're tall or short. It makes no difference. The color of your skin, that's only on your surface. And remember that, the way you think, the way you feel, none of this is solid and real. It's flex and it's changing all the time. Yeah. So this verse is trying to say to us that we have to start to put other people ahead of our selfish self. Yeah. So it's not trying to say to you, you don't matter and you shouldn't care. You should care. You do matter, but you matter just as much as everybody else. No more than anybody else, no less than anybody else. Everybody at the heart should be a human. Now, remember, I'm not talking about behavior here. I'm talking about what we are born as, human beings. Yeah. Behavior is a different thing. I'm just talking about seeing people as human beings. That is how we build empathy. We can't have empathy for anybody if we just see, oh, it's only this type of person or it's only that type of person. There's no empathy in that. And empathy doesn't come natural to us. We have to work at empathy. And if you're discriminating and, categorizing people, then empathy becomes really difficult for us. Yeah. Okay, so let's just take a moment and reflect on this, and then ask any questions or anything. Okay. So does anybody have anything to say? Any questions? Anything you want to clarify?
What is distinguishing behaviour
Hmm.
doesn't someone else's behaviour influence our perception and the way we respond.
Yeah, it does. But what we're talking about here is more like compassion. So compassion isn't about behavior. But unfortunately, we see compassion as that type of thing. We meter it out to the people we think who deserve it, and we don't give it to people we think don't deserve it. So compassion is about human being. It's not about behavior. It's not for us to just discriminate with compassion. So with behavior, there's different things. There's the law and everything in process for that. We're not talking about this. We're talking about trying to change our thought process. And to change that thought process, we need to see all beings as one, as human beings, because then we can be empathic, then we can have compassion for them. But if we're just looking at behavior, then we'll never have compassion for people, because you'll constantly then keep discriminating. I understand that it's hard, that the person who's been attacked, we have compassion for, and the person who's attacking, we don't. That's how we think now. But both of those want to be happy. They want to have a peace of mind. They don't want to suffer. That is all of us. Whether you're attacking somebody or whether you've been attacked, none of us want to suffer. So in that respect, we're all the same. So that's what I'm talking about here, that we have to try to stop using compassion as a tool to categorize people. Yeah.
I just want to clarify, in the first verse, all sentient beings are mentioned. It presumably applies throughout all sentient beings.
Mm.
So verse 2, I consider myself lower than whatever sentient being.
Mm.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so what I said there was, what it's trying to do is to break down your ego.
Yeah.
So it is not, and if you have a look at Bodhisattva vows, it is not saying that you are the lowest of the low. But what it's trying to do is just plant that seed in you. So if we start off by thinking, yeah, everybody is better than me, it breaks down your ego. You'll get to a point where you understand everything is equal. I mean, everyone is equal. But to do that, because if it just said you are equal, then you won't understand that I've got to break down. So what it's trying to do is break down your ego, that sense of self. That makes sense?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. Okay, so then the third verse. In all actions, I examine my mental continuum, and the minute a delusion arises, since it endangers myself and others, I forcefully confront and avert it. So our delusions are our negative emotions. So our jealousy, our pride, our anger, all of these, if we allow those negative emotions to take hold, then it means that we are going to end up hurting ourselves and we're going to end up hurting others. So he's talking about mindfulness here. This is where you really need to have awareness. You need to know what is going on in your mind. So you see, when it comes, let's use anger, because, you know, anger is something that we all know. I mean, maybe some of you have jealousy, some have pride, but anger we all have. So if we constantly keep letting anger out, so if you have a look at Western psychology, they tell you, let it out. But the problem with that is the more that you let it out, the more it becomes a habit. And then without even thinking, you're getting angry. Every time somebody shouts at you or upsets you, automatically you become angry because it's become a habit. So we need to deal with these emotions. We need to catch them before they take hold, which is not a simple thing to do. I understand that. But the more you are mindful of the way you are thinking, the more you are mindful of your emotions, you're mindful of what your body is trying to tell you, and you're mindful of what is happening in the immediate environment, the more that you can respond instead of blindly reacting. I mean, what we tend to do, we react. And we react because we've always done that. Somebody shouts at me, I've always shouted back. So I'll just carry on doing that. But there has to come a time when we just think, and you know, when that happens, you know, they shout, you shout, they don't listen to you, you don't listen to them, nothing gets resolved. So, and that happens all the time. And sooner or later, you're going to have to think, this just isn't working. You know, for my whole life, I've shouted back at people and nothing good has come out of it. Nothing good has ever come out of that anger. So then there has to be a better way. And the way is to try to catch these emotions and catch them. So maybe you can't catch them the minute it comes up. But once you start to realize, then catch it and deal with it instead of allowing it to just come out and you blindly reacting to the situation. Respond to the situation. So try to catch those delusions, catch that anger, catch those negative emotions coming up in you. Remember, I said at the beginning, these are not easy things. Yeah. So I know that you're probably all thinking, well, yeah, it's easy for him to sit there and say that, but it's really hard for us to do it. I know that. I know that for myself. I am a human being as well. I have gone through all these things myself. So I know that it is, you know, challenging to do, but I also know that it's not impossible because I've done these things. So we have to be more mindful, more aware of ourselves, more aware of our thoughts, instead of blindly following those thoughts. And when you catch these delusions, these thoughts and these emotions, then try to find a way to deal with them. And a way to deal with them is not letting them out and not constantly, you know, if you get jealous, not constantly thinking, you know, jealous thoughts. That's not going to help you. And we all know that these delusions, these destructive emotions and the destructive negative thoughts don't go away easy because we feed them. You get a negative thought, we feed that thought, and it goes on and it goes on, and we might get distracted. And then when we're not distracted, that negative thought comes back. You know, maybe somebody upset you today, and then, you know, all throughout the day, why did they do that? Why did they say that? What are they doing to me? Why are they picking on me? When you get home at night and you sit and watch the telly, the thought comes up again. What is wrong? Why are they treating me like this? You sit and try and meditate, and the first thought comes into your head was, why did they treat me like that? And that is because we allow these delusions and these negative thoughts and emotions to take grip, to take a hold of us. So the only way to stop that is to catch them. And the only way we can do that is to be more aware of what you are thinking, what emotions you are feeling, what is happening to you. So, and the problem with this is that we can't be 24/7 mindful. I mean, we have the ability to plan, we have memories, so we can't stay, 100% in the present moment. So it means we have to constantly keep working on bringing our awareness back. When we realize, hang on, I've drifted away, I'll come back. So again, it takes time, but it is totally doable. If you just start small. I mean, a simple way to do is every hour, set a notification on your phone, every hour, a little ping or a bell, and then just brings you back to the present moment, brings your focus back to now. If you watch your breath come in, watch your breath go out, you can only breathe in the present moment. So when you're watching that breath, automatically you've come back to the present moment. So when you come back to the present moment, then just think, what is my thought process at the moment? Okay, it's fine. My emotions, okay. What's happening around me? Yeah, it's all okay. Move on. Maybe my thoughts are negative. Okay, what do I need to do then? I need to stop this negativity. It's not helping me. It's not helping anybody. What should I do? I have an emotion, a negative emotion. Again, what should I do? If we can catch it, we can ask that question and then we can respond instead of just blindly keep reacting. Okay? So think about this, because this is a challenging thing for us to do. But again, it's about changing your thought process. If you change that thought process, then you catch these delusions and these negative thoughts and emotions. If you just blindly keep running after every thought and emotion, you'll never change. So it's about understanding I need to start to take back control of my thought process. Yeah. So it is possible, but it takes time and, little baby steps, make some changes as you go along. And when you start to see little results, that will motivate you to keep going and see more results. But if you don't start, then you're never going to get anywhere. If you walk out of here today and you say, yeah, that was nice, and then you change nothing, then you've just spent 2 hours just listening to me banging on and you haven't gained anything from it. So, and it's easy for me to talk. It's for you to do the work, isn't it? So then you need to go out of here and you need to do the changes. But slowly, see the important things that come out for today and see the ones that I really want to work on and then work on them. Yeah. Okay, so let's just take 1 minute to reflect and then you can come back to me. Okay. Okay, so does anybody want to say anything about this verse?
When it says and forcefully confronted and averted, because sometimes I feel this emotions, like anger or something here, and what I usually do is just focus on my breathing. It stays there for a while. Do we have to get rid of it, or is it okay to just stay there?
Yeah, you see, if you just leave an emotion staying there, it's not dealt with. So say somebody annoyed you and you just take your deep breaths and you're now calm, but you leave that annoyance, it will pop back up again. As soon as there's a little gap in your thought process, it will slip in and just remind you, oh, they annoyed you. So they do have to be dealt with.
Do you know how to deal with it?
Yes, go on.
Of course I do. So every situation is different, yeah. So I can't tell you how to deal with every situation that's going to come up. But you have to ask yourself that question. You know, what do I need to do to let go of this? So maybe say this person annoyed you and it kept coming back. So what do I need to, maybe you need to go and speak to that person calmly and just say, actually what you said upset me a little bit, and just explain, get it off your chest. Or maybe, you know, you're strong enough to say, it's okay. Whatever they said isn't true. So it's just their perspective. I don't mind. Move on. Not many people are strong like that. But if you are strong like that, so you have to think of, what do I need to do? Because every situation is different. Yeah, every time somebody makes you angry, there will be different reasons why you're angry. And so there will be different things to deal with. So you have to ask yourself the question, what do I need to do? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I answered it.
You did.
Mm.
Yeah. So you confront, okay, so register it, what have you, but avert it, avert and avoidance. So there's that stereotypic Christmas event with the family coming up, and oh no, it'll be so and so, and obviously people can not go, avoid completely, or as I was once advised by visiting Lama, who saw the dynamics in a particular situation, he said, until you're able to, withdraw from the situation, don't get involved.
Mm. Sometimes that's the best idea, don't go, isn't it? If you know that this situation or these type of people or this situation winds you up, then, and you think, I'm not strong enough to deal with that, then don't go. I mean, it's okay not to go. But remember, when you don't go, it's not really solving the problem.
No.
I mean, it's just masking that problem. Sooner or later, you will have to go. But if you know that that type of person or that type of situation leads me to feel or think like this, then that's an early warning for you. So to know things is it's good, because then you think, okay, I'm ready, I'm armed, I'm not going to allow, you know, sometimes you visit relatives, you know, and you know they're going to wind you up. But if you know that, and then you go in thinking, I'm not going to let them, I won't, you know, I'll guard my mind, I'll shield myself, and whatever they say will, you know, bounce off my shield. So then you can do it that way. But it's every situation is different, isn't it? So sometimes if you're having an argument, the best thing is just to, okay, let's leave it now. We'll discuss it later, because later you've calmed down, they've calmed down. So, you know, walking away sometimes is the answer at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that rather than to avoid a situation completely, it's conditioning avoidance. You just
It is, yeah. In the end,
yeah.
if that situation is a prominent one that comes up regularly, you have to face it in the
Yeah.
end.
But to just,
But you know, you
not
need to
withdraw.
feel stronger. I mean, there may be times when you're strong enough to meet these people, and other times you don't feel so strong mentally. And at those times, don't meet them. Don't put yourself in that position. That's also okay, but it isn't dealing with them in the long term. Yeah.
I mean, the years we were visiting lamas, and well, I'm thinking one in particular, and somebody tried to, it was the lunchtime, so we were having a ring and share lunch, and somebody started to mention a particular Buddhist group which is not regarded as mainstream, is in fact regarded as a sect. And rather than getting drawn, he just walked away from the thing. And it turned out I wasn't getting involved in this discussion about him.
No. No, it's best not to discuss with those people in that sect because you'll lose the argument. So yeah, and just walk away. It's the best thing.
Walk away, Renee.
Yes. Well, we should write a song. Okay. So,
This is where children make you angry. How are you supposed to be able to deal with that?
Or violence.
a good slap. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah, and it shouldn't be. No, I'm joking. No. Again, I think you have to do the same thing. I mean, you can't walk away from the child, but then try to explain to the child, why this is not acceptable. I mean, again, it takes time. Children will be children. I mean, it's their job to annoy us, isn't it? I mean, that's what they're put on the planet to do, and they do a good job. So, we have to try to educate the children, and we have to be firm with them. So, remember that out of all of this, we do have to stand up for ourselves. So not argue, but sometimes we need to be assertive. And with children, we need to be assertive sometimes. So it's okay to be assertive. Yeah. As long as you're keeping them in mind and that assertiveness is not a selfish thing. That, they're not doing anything wrong, but they're just playing and it's winding me up. Then that's all about you. And it's not about them. So when we be assertive, we need to ensure that it's, for the good of both of you and not just a selfish thing. But it's okay to be assertive, yeah.
You were talking about strength. I was considering surrender. I don't mean weakness, strong surrender. You surrender to the situation. Rather than forcefully a shield. Follow my concept there.
I think a better word is acceptance, isn't it?
Acceptance.
Yeah. So we need to accept. Yeah, so this is not a weakness, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, walking away is not a weakness. We shouldn't think that. Because standing there and shouting and wasting your time is a waste of time. Yeah, nobody's disturbing yourself and them. So sometimes we have to accept the situation. So, I mean, I think that's what you mean by surrender. You accept, that this is what it is. I can't do anything about it. Yeah. That happens, doesn't it? I mean, the only thing we have full control over is us, our thoughts and our actions, our behavior, our moods. We have control over those type of things, even though sometimes that's even difficult. But what we don't have control over is the way other people act and that. So sometimes we have to accept that. But, we shouldn't see acceptance as failure. And we do. That's the problem. We think if I accept, that means they've won, I've lost, I've failed. And actually, there's nothing wrong with failure, though we don't like it. But there's nothing wrong because it means, we learn and grow and move on. But sometimes we have to accept situations as difficult as they are. So, yeah, there are times when, when you ask them, what should I do? Maybe that's what you should do. I just need to accept, walk away, move on. So, yeah. So again,
I think that time we should put ourselves in before because controlling our emotion, we should focus on at that time.
Yeah, I know. So you're saying that at that time I have this emotion. Yeah, we need to, because it's our emotion. So we need to be aware of our emotion. But again, whatever we decide to do, it shouldn't just be a selfish thing. It should be that it's better for both of us that I just walk away now. Yeah. But yeah, we need to. So when we're aware of our thoughts, our emotions, and that is not being selfish. That's just an awareness of what is actually going on in me. Yeah. The selfish part would come if you then think, I don't care about that and I'm just going to do this anyway. Then it turns into selfishness.
Well, I say selfish and self-awareness at the time.
Yeah, so we're just being aware of ourselves. So we can make you see, you can't make a good decision if you're not aware of what's going on. So we have to be aware. So that awareness is not a selfish awareness. Yeah. Okay, we're only on number 4, look. So number 4, whenever I see sentient beings who are wicked in nature and overwhelmed by negative actions and heavy suffering, I hold such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. So here he's talking about empathy. So a lot of the time when we see people, like you were talking about behavior, they say like wicked here, but people who maybe are not behaving very well, then a lot of time we would either judge them and criticize them, or we'll just try to get far enough away from them. But there's no empathy in that. So what they're saying here is try to help if you can. Of course, there are situations where we can't help, but if you can't help, at least don't harm, don't add fuel to the fire. So when we have empathy, it's like I said earlier on, empathy we have to work on. So sympathy, we get sympathy. So you might see somebody and sympathy comes up. Sympathy comes up automatic in us. But sympathy is like pity. I mean, and again, it's more about us than it is about them. Because sympathy is saying that, oh dear, oh, how terrible for them, you know, and I don't want to be like that. So that's what sympathy is more like. But we need empathy. We need to try to understand them. Even if we can't help them, we should try to understand them. So empathy is not a simple thing. I mean, people say, you know, just put yourself in their shoes. It's not an easy thing to do, because for men to put themselves in women's shoes is difficult, and vice versa, because we're different and we have different ways of thinking and acting. And, you know, in fact, in many cultures, we're brought up differently. So empathy takes time and takes practice. But if you're going to turn away all the time from people who are suffering, you are never going to build empathy. So we have to face up to these facts that people are suffering, and there are people that maybe not acting in a good way. But if you're constantly running away, or you're just turning away, turn a blind eye, then you are never going to build empathy, and your thoughts are never going to be empathic ones. And then if you don't have empathy, then you're never going to have compassion, and then you're never going to have a peaceful mind. So we need to not run away from all these people that are suffering. We need to face that. And actually, when we get to the final one, then we'll talk more about this, about facing up to people's suffering. But what it's trying to point out here is that we need to have empathy for people, and we need to start building that empathy. Because from that empathy, then we're going to start to have compassion, and we're going to start to see all of us as a whole, and not me here, I'm good person, you bad person. You can't build empathy like that. And you can't go through life, you know, heading towards that bodhisattva mindset if you are discriminating with people. So it's about trying to build empathy, trying to, if you can't put yourself in their shoes, but try to understand it from their viewpoint. I mean, that's what empathy is about. Just to try to understand it from their point, not from my viewpoint. Oh, you know, I'm glad that's not happening to me. That's not going to help. But try to understand, oh, you know, this is what they're going through. And then from that, maybe you're going to get compassion and you can help them. But if you never get to the point of empathy, you're never going to get to the point of compassion. Yeah. So I'm slow, so I'm going to just say that about this one. So let's take a minute and just think about this verse. Okay. So any thoughts or questions on this one?
One quick, if you want,
Hmm?
I'll do it if no one else wants to.
Yeah.
I was thinking you have to separate, the deeds from themselves, and that, certain people have certain ways of being broke to other people, generate certain action that we see as more evil. But the other, most, virtually everybody on the planet is at some level not perfectly functioning. Is that fair? We're separating deeds from person, I think it's important in that little bit.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying about compassion as well. Splitting the deed and their behavior out and just seeing them as a human being. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. So if people are, as it says here, evil, or they're not acting in a good way, then remember, when people act like that and then we judge them, we only see that behavior that second there, and then we build up a whole judgment on them in out of this short moment where we've seen them. We have no idea what their backstory is. We have no idea what led somebody to break into somebody's house and steal their things. We don't know what their story was. Maybe they're starving. Maybe they've just had such a bad upbringing that they don't know any different. We don't know that. But we always judge. We look at somebody and instantly we judge them. We do, yep, they're that type of person. But we don't know what has led them to be that type of person, or even if they really are that type of person. So we always have to split the deed from the person, that we are human beings, and that's how we should see each other. If that is in your thought process, then so many things are going to change in the way that you see the world and the way that you interact with the world. If you see people as human beings, so take away their behavior. We have courts and things and social justice and all that sort out behavior. This is not what we're looking at here. Yeah. The behavior is set to one side today, and we're just looking at the human being.
Would this be indicating, though, the way it's written, as though there are some people who are actually wicked in nature? Whereas I've tended to think that people might do wrong actions, but the person themselves is not wicked.
Remember that this was written in the 12th century, and then this was translated as wicked. I think wicked it's like enemy and hatred. They're such horrible words, too heavy words. So I think wicked's wrong. Maybe people who are negative or in nature would probably be a nicer way of putting it. So it's not saying that you see, we can all be wicked, let's face fact, let's be honest. We can all have times when we're a little bit naughtier than others. So that's human nature, but that doesn't mean that we are wicked in nature. So I think, we can't take that as literal, that some people are wicked in nature. They're probably wicked because of nurture more than nature. Yeah. The way they've been brought up makes them wicked or negative or, not good people. We all have the opportunity to change and become good people. So it doesn't mean that there are some people that are beyond. I don't believe there's anybody beyond. We shouldn't think that there are people who are beyond. Yeah. Okay, so let's get on. So I'm going to do these two and then we'll reflect on the two together. So the first one is, when out of envy others mistreat me with abuse, insults, or the like, I accept defeat and offer the victory to them. Again, we are talking about ego here. We're about breaking down our ego. Because what happens is, if somebody abuses or insults us, the first thing that pops in is the ego. And then that ego takes control of our thoughts and our emotions. We become sad because somebody has said something to upset us. And so what we need to do is just take a step back and say, okay, and not say to them, you've won, but just think, that's fine, leave it there. Because if you do that, then you're overriding that ego. So let's just talk a little bit about ego. So ego comes in Buddhism, ego comes from your seventh consciousness. So, we have five consciousness, your eyes, your ears, your nose, and all those. And the sixth consciousness is your mind in Buddhism. The seventh consciousness is that sense of self. That is your ego. And the eighth consciousness is your storeroom, your alaya consciousness. So we all have that seventh consciousness. It is there. And things that we take through our six senses are filtered through that. So if we're not careful, everything goes through and becomes about ego. And we start to think somebody has attacked me, I have to defend myself. Whereas it's saying here that if somebody abuses me and insults me, and remember here, they're not talking about violence, they're just abuse. So it's talking more about mental and abuse and insults. So it just means that that's their viewpoint. I don't have to rise to it. Because by rising to it, a lot of the time, we're just playing into their game. We're just, helping stoke their fire, and then it all just blows out of hand. By just accepting, okay, yeah, that's your viewpoint. You see, the way we should see things, if somebody says something to you, oh, you're so lazy, and you're not a lazy person, you know clearly you're not a lazy person, and it doesn't matter, does it? Because you know it's not true. But if somebody said to you, you're a lazy person and you are a lazy person, then that person there is your teacher, and they are showing you where you need to change. So either way, we don't have to let that ego come in and get upset, do we? One, it's not true. So let them say whatever. Like I was saying, when I get trolled online, it's okay. If these people do pick out a fault I have, then okay, I'll look at that. If it's just, abuse, it's okay. I don't then write back to them and start getting in an argument, because what's the benefit? They've already said what they think. Okay, fine, leave it. So then that's what it means by giving them victory. It's like, those people may think that they've won because I haven't come back. But I haven't come back because there's absolutely no benefit in coming back. So if somebody does insult you or, verbally abuse you in some way, then either take it that it's true and I need to change, or it's not true and just let it go. But either way, we don't have to fight back and argue, because that is just going to make things worse. It's hard for us to do. Because the ego, because we've allowed it to control us, it pops up all the time. But you can catch it, yeah. You can catch when it's popped up and you start to think about, oh, they've upset me. And you can ask them, where is me then? I mean, we won't get into that. But, there is no me, no solid me that they can upset, is there? I mean, there is no solid thing here that it can upset. They can only upset your thoughts at that time, but your thoughts are going to move on. So that's what it's saying here about giving victory to them. Let them think they have victory. Take the, moral high ground. Just think, I don't need to get into this. It's not true. Or actually you are true and I need to work on it. Thank you. You are my teacher. Yeah. So in fact, in both ways, both of those people are your teacher. Because the first one, when they're abusing you and it's not true, they're teaching you how to have patience and how to step back. And the other one is teaching you that you need to change. So both ways, yeah, they have the victory. and you change. So let me just do the other one before we come back to that, because it's quite similar. So when someone whom I have benefited and in whom I have great hopes gives me terrible harm, I regard them as my virtuous friend. So it's again, isn't it, where we've helped somebody and then they've turned around and done something not very nice to us. And I think, I was good to you, and then you've treated me like this. Where is that thought coming from? Your ego. Your ego is like, oh, you hurt me. You know, just because we did things to help people, it doesn't mean that we should expect things back. You know, if you are just doing things for other people because you want something in return, then you're not being generous, are you? You're not doing it out of generosity. You're doing it out of selfishness. So just because you've done something for somebody, we shouldn't expect them to do things back for us. And if they do things to upset us, again, that is just your ego. So just fight that ego. Just see, it's not worth it. We spend a huge amount of our time getting all upset about things that really are just irrelevant. You know, if you think, what would I think about this in 2 months' time? You wouldn't. If somebody said to you, you're lazy, and you get all upset and it gets playing on your mind, in 2 months' time, you'll have something else to be upset about. You won't worry about this. Somebody said you were lazy. So we get ourselves tangled up in irrelevant things. So just because you help somebody, it doesn't mean that they have to, you know, help you back. And if they do something to harm you, that is your ego coming in. So again, just see that person as a friend, as a human being. Okay, so then just reflect on these 2 points. Okay. So any thoughts or anybody have an ego?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Very much so, but I mean, all of those are challenging, aren't they? But it's through these two, and when we've talked about them different times, different members come and go. Two things arise, and well, we mentioned, for instance, that Tibetan slogan, "Victory to my enemy, defeat to myself."
Mm.
We will through the door, and one of the things that comes out is, oh, I'll be treated like a doormat, and it's the ego.
Mm.
I think people find this very challenging.
Yeah, so we're not talking about that though. That's a good point. That we're not saying you lay down on the floor and just let people walk all over you. Of course, we can't do that. And it was silly to do that. And I spoke about the Bodhisattva vows. And in one of the Bodhisattva vows, it says about standing up for yourself. So, you know, but that is about self-care. So, and self-compassion, that sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves, but it has to be that it was beyond our ego. It wasn't just somebody that upset us. It was something beyond that. So it might be that, you know, it's going to cause us harm. So then, of course, we have to, you know, protect ourselves in that way. So it's not saying that you have to lay on the floor and let everybody walk all over you. Because remember that we're all equal. It's not me and all you. It's not subject object. We are all one. So it isn't like I have to lay down and all you walk over me. I mean, I am part of you. We are all part of the same. We're all human beings. So don't think of it that, you know, I have to give in all the time. But you have to make sure that when you do stand up for yourself, it's not just out of ego. It's not just out of, you know, you hurt me. I mean, if you're going to shoot me, that would hurt me. But if you're just going to insult me, that's not going to hurt me. Your words will not hurt me. I won't allow your words to hurt me, yeah. And that's the way we should see that. So it's not about like surrendering in the way that we think that word means surrender. It's not like that. So, but we do need to accept certain situations. And we do need to ensure that what we do is not completely selfish. It's not just about us and not just about me and my ego. It has to be about other people. But one way of breaking that down is thinking that we're handing victory to other people. Again, that's not saying that I'm a loser. It's just saying that it is no benefit in getting involved in all of this nonsense. Do you understand that? Does that make sense?
So these two verses are building up strength within by acting in this manner. Therefore, it is a strengthening in self.
It is not a weakness. If you allow people just to say what they want to say and hurt you, and then you just walk away and it doesn't bother you, that's not a weakness, is it? A weakness is to just keep thinking about it and getting upset about it and allowing your ego to be hurt. That's a weakness. Not allowing it to harm you is a strength. Most definitely is a strength.
You think that part of it is a different experience that a lot of people haven't had. It's like if you have an argument with someone and you're not paying agree, or not an argument, you're disagreeing, you have to clearly say to them, I disagree with you, hurt my feelings or something like that. That's an experience that you may have got your whole life and you've never had it before. And it's like a big doormat. If someone's trying to do something to you or hit you, and you maybe just put your hand up and say no, without anger, that's a situation a lot of people have never experienced. So when they do, they realise, well, this is actually possible, and it's maybe not, they've never experienced it before, because maybe there's lots of things like that in life, like if there's like if you've got a disabled child or something, you've got to restrain them, and you do it without hatred, you do it without anger, but it's something that they need, and it's for their benefit, and you've got to maybe train yourself to do so without anger, but it's something that most people never experience. You know what I mean? I don't know, but that's why when I'm saying about that, a lot of people were taken back by it. It seems to me that it's an experience you have to go through. Since your meditation, you kind of, once you've experienced it happening, you kind of can believe that it's different. I don't know if you would agree.
Yeah, so remember, all these teachings, all of Buddhism is experiential. It's not belief system. You have to experience it. That's what mindfulness meditation is all about. And that's what I said at the beginning, that, you know, these are ways of changing your thoughts. So you have to experience. I can't change your thoughts. I can plant seeds in you. But like I said, if you all go out and you don't bother to change, then nothing will change. Yeah. So it is all experiential. Yeah. But like you were saying, if you've never tried it, you don't know. But what we tend to say is that, oh, that won't work. Well, I can't do that. Oh, but it's so hard. Well, once you start talking like that, you'll never change. So you have to think, okay, what can I do? How can I introduce this into my life? So that's why I keep stopping now for letting you to reflect. It's so that you can think about it and let it sink in. And when you go away, And over the next few days, just think about the ones that, I mean, you've got the sheets so you can remind yourself. And just think of the ones that you can start with. Start with, if there's something on here that is simple for you to change, start with the simple. Don't start with the difficult because you're setting yourself up to fail. Start with the simple things and change a bit. That little change will motivate you to change more and change more and change more. So yeah, everything that I'm talking about here has to be for you to adapt and make it your own experience. You have to make it part of you. There isn't like one thing that is going to work for everybody. You have to take from this what you can take, what is going to work for you and what's going to help you. That is all of Buddha's teachings. I mean, that's why he didn't do any like vows or anything for you people. He didn't do any commandments. He never said thou shan't do this and that. He never said that. Even his precepts, which is telling you, you should actually try to refrain from these things. He never said you must. So everything in Buddhism is about experience. And you have to experience. When you've experienced, maybe you'll come back and say, that don't work. Okay, for you it didn't work. But at least you tried it. If you're just going to say now, that's not going to work. And it definitely won't work, yeah. So yeah, you have to try these things. Thank you.
Can I just ask one more thing? It's a clarification because when I need something and I mention, for instance, or in this case, His Holiness Dalai Lama talks about what's the Chinese as you're referring to, my friend the enemy. My understanding of that is that it's about compassion, but also opportunities to practice. In that, if you do not have an enemy in life, you know, you don't have that opportunity to do something about it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the people who are telling you who are your teachers.
Yes.
Like if they're saying something that isn't true and it's teaching you how to be patient and how to, you know, just step back from it, then you're learning and they are your teacher.
So it's that
and the person who has told you that you are lazy or whatever, again, is a teacher. So yeah, these people are, all the people that annoy you, all the people that get on your nerves are your teachers. All the people that come to you and say, yes, you are nice, you are handsome, yes, they are not your teachers. We all know how to be happy. We all know how to laugh. We don't need to come here and me tell you how to have a good time. What we need to learn is how to deal with the difficult side of life. And so, you know, all your friends are probably not very good teachers to you. All the people that dislike you and say negative things about you are your teachers. They're the ones that we should bow down to because we're going to learn so much more from them than we'll learn from our friends. Okay, so number 7 is, in short, both directly and indirectly, I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers. I secretly take upon myself all their harms and suffering. So here, mothers means all beings, okay? So in Buddhism, it's difficult, this one, but okay. So in Buddhism, they do talk about rebirth. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. But just say that there is rebirth. And we've all been reborn and reborn and reborn. So everybody has been your mother. So this, you know, presupposes that everybody is born a human and we're born a human again. But just say that that does happen. And then because we've been born so many thousands of times, then we've had so many mothers. So everybody has been our mother. So what it is trying to say is the way that you would treat your mother, and I know that maybe some of you don't like your mother, but okay, if it's not your mother, your father, or somebody that you like, then that is how we should treat all beings. That is what it's trying to say. So in Buddhism, they say mother sentient beings, because obviously when this was written, all mothers were perfect. Maybe they're not so now. But, you know, if it's not a mother, it's a father or it's a guardian or, you know, somebody who's close to you. So the person that, let's put it like this, the person that you respect the most in your life, treat everybody exactly the same as that person. Yeah. So whether it's a mother or it doesn't matter. So that's what they're trying to say here. So we are talking, that's what mothers mean, okay? So what this verse is talking about is Tonglen. So who knows about Tonglen? Yes.
Well, we do practice it, yes. But maybe some do not.
Do you know Tonglen? No. Yes? Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we've got time to do a short Tonglen. So what we usually do is when people are suffering, we usually turn away from that suffering. Or at the very least, we don't, you know, I don't like that suffering. Tonglen is about, means sending and receiving. So sending out our compassion to people who are suffering and taking their suffering to us. So no, don't worry about this. This is a mental exercise. This is to build compassion in ourselves. It isn't that we are taking on people's illnesses and their cancer and whatever. It's not about that, yeah. But to break down that barrier so we can see people as human beings and we can have true compassion for everybody, we take on the people suffering. So we start with somebody that we care about and we think about a time that they were suffering. And as we breathe in that suffering, we take it on board. And as we breathe out, we send out our compassion to this person. Then we do it for a person that is a neutral person, a stranger, somebody we know, we don't really know very well. And we do the same thing. We think of a time that they were suffering and we take on that suffering. And then we pick on a person that we're having difficulty with, somebody that we dislike. Then again, we think of a time when they've suffered. So remember, everybody suffers. Even if they're a stranger we don't know, they have suffered. We all suffer. Either it's mentally, emotionally, physically, we all suffer. So I won't do, because we won't have a lot of time, I won't do the whole world, but usually we do the whole world as well. But this is enough for today. And at the end, we'll do a purification where we'll visualize all that suffering we've took on board. We'll imagine it here as black smoke in our heart center. And as we breathe out, we'll breathe out this black smoke and breathe all that, all the suffering that we've taken on board, we'll breathe it out. As we breathe in, we'll breathe in white smoke. And this white smoke will purify us of all that suffering. So if you are worried that you're going to end up with a whole lot of suffering, you won't. We'll purify it. But remember, the whole point of this practice is to mentally have you accept that suffering instead of turning away from the suffering in world. Face up to that suffering and have compassion for all beings. It's a powerful practice, and the more you do the practice, the more powerful it becomes. So let's just try it. I'll guide you through it. So sit nice and comfortable. And lightly close your eyes. And just focus on your breath a moment, just to allow yourself to become nice and relaxed and grounded. Try to make sure your feet are flat on the ground. So now I want you to think of a loved one, somebody who means a lot to you. And just imagine that person standing in front of you now. And I want you to imagine the time that this person has suffered, or maybe they're suffering now. So just imagine that suffering. And each time you inhale, just inhale that suffering and take that suffering, breathe that suffering in, relieving that loved one of that suffering. And as you breathe out your heartfelt compassion to this person that you care about. And keep doing that for a moment, breathing in their suffering and breathing out compassion to them. And imagine them letting go of that suffering and receiving your compassion. So continue to breathe in the suffering of the loved one and send out your compassion as you exhale. I just want you to spend a moment to focus on what it feels like to take on that suffering of a loved one. So now I want you to think of a neutral person, a stranger. It may be somebody you see on the street every day, or might be a shopkeeper, or somebody you see when you're walking the dog. Whoever it is, just imagine that stranger, that neutral person, standing in front of you now. And even though you don't know this person, you know that they must have suffered in some way, maybe through illness, maybe through bereavement, maybe through disappointment. So imagine this person has suffered, and then now breathe in their suffering. And as you breathe out your compassion, and imagine this stranger letting go of their suffering and receiving your compassion. So continue to breathe in the suffering of the stranger and send them your compassion on the out breath. And again, just focus on how does it feel to take on board the suffering of this stranger. So now I want you to think about a person that you're having difficulty with at the moment, or it may be somebody that you don't necessarily like very much. So even though you're having difficulty with this person, just put that to one side a moment and imagine this person standing in front of you. And even though you don't much like this person or you're having difficulty with them, they've also suffered some time in their life. So just imagine that this person is suffering, and maybe they're suffering now because you dislike them or you're having difficulty with them. So imagine that person in front of you and breathe in their suffering and breathe out your compassion. And just imagine this person releasing their suffering and accepting your compassion. Okay, so now I want you to imagine all that suffering sitting in your heart center as black smoke. And as you breathe out, just imagine you're breathing out black smoke. And as you breathe in, imagine you're breathing in the white smoke of compassion and purification. So as you breathe in this white smoke, it starts to fill you with compassion. And as you breathe out, you let go of all of that suffering in the form of black smoke. And keep breathing like this for a moment. So ensure that you've let all that black smoke go, you've breathed it out. And now you're filled with the white smoke of compassion and purification. And just spend the next few moments thinking about the experience of doing this practice. If it was difficult, if you didn't really want to do it, then just think, why? Why was it difficult? Why didn't I want to do it? So just think about the experience a moment. And now slowly start to open your eyes. So that was the very short Tonglen. They're usually more in depth than that, but that's just a quick one for today. But how was that experience, especially the people who've never done Tonglen? Did you manage?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have done it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The name's fine.
Okay.
And I've done it as well, I just didn't know the name.
Oh, okay.
Same, I don't know the name.
Oh, so everybody had done it before. So,
That was it.
with him,
Although the name of it was loving. Same thing.
no, that's different. Yeah. No, this is Tonglen. Loving kindness is about sending out compassion and, you know, feelings of happiness, and you don't want people to suffer. Yeah, it's different from that. So this one, we're taking on their suffering. So if you've all done it before, then does it work for you? Has it changed you in any way, or you just do it?
I think it helps to make more compassionate to other people's suffering.
Hmm. It's hard to do.
It sort of makes you almost put yourself in their shoes.
Hmm.
Only momentarily, and I'm sure with practice it would improve. But
Yeah. The Tonglen practice is something that we should do on a regular basis, because it really just breaks down those barriers for us. So, okay, we don't have much time left. So, as usual, I've spoken too much. So let's just do the last one. So I'll just do this one quickly. So also, I do not defile all these practices with the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly concerns. So there are things that we grasp at, and there are things that we push away. And these are the 8 worldly concerns, such as gain, we grasp at, and loss. We push away. We don't want to lose things, and we try to gain things, or pleasure and pain, or happiness and suffering. So we get attached and have, you know, tried to hope for happiness and pleasure. And we try to, you know, we have aversion towards suffering and pain. Both of those things, when we get attached to something and when we push something away, so attachment and aversions, both cause us suffering. So it's like fame and, you know, insignificance. So everybody, and particularly in this world we live in at the moment with, you know, reality TV, and everybody's chasing after fame and thinking that fame is what I need and fame is going to be fantastic. And of course, when they get famous, then people destroy them, because that's what we do in society. We lift people up only so we can drag them down, or that fame doesn't last, and then they get really upset. So though we think of fame maybe as a good thing, you know, in the end, it's just going to cause you suffering. And insignificance, nobody wants to be insignificant. But, you know, when we try our best to have these, push these aversions away, again, it just causes us suffering. So I don't want to go too far into that because we don't have time. But the next bit is important, which is, and by knowing all phenomena to be illusory, without trusting in them, I'm freed from bondage. So this is a big topic, and we have like 5 minutes or so to cover emptiness. So what we're talking about here is emptiness. All phenomena are an illusion. Everything, including ourselves, are just an illusion, which doesn't mean they don't exist, but it means that they don't exist in the way that we think they do. And in Buddhism, we call this emptiness. So emptiness is not saying that things don't exist. Emptiness is explaining how things exist. So the word is wrong. Yeah. If in Sanskrit we're taught the word shunyata, and in English it's translated as empty. So what we think of emptiness is this is empty. There's nothing. So it's completely misunderstanding. So what emptiness means in Buddhism is that things are empty of their own intrinsic nature, which means everything is made up of two or more parts. Nothing has its own nature. So this glass is empty of glass because it's coming together of heat and sand. I don't know how you make glass, actually. How do you make glass? Heat and sand. Yeah, there we are. I'm more intelligent than I think. So it's empty of glass. The glass is just an illusion. It's just a label we give things because this is empty of glass, because it is the coming together of different things. So coming together of sand and coming together of heat brings you glass. So there is no glass. It is empty of glass. And the same for the same for us. We are empty, really, of being a human being because we are the coming together of many, many different bits and pieces. So we are empty of a human being. It's just an illusion. So I can't go through all this because we don't have time. That's the next 2-hour teaching. Maybe next time I come. But I've only mentioned it because it mentions it here. So the whole point of that is that we get attached to things. So say you got attached to that glass, but actually it is empty of glass. It's just, the glass is just an illusion. It's the coming together of different causes and conditions. They last for a certain time, then they disappear. So there is no benefit of getting attached. So attachment causes us so much. In fact, Buddha said that the main source of our suffering is getting attached to things. And that's what we do. We get attached to so many things. But what you're getting attached to is just things that are in a flux, forever flowing. When you get attached to something, it's like you're trying to get attached to this air. I mean, you can't. But we try to. And that causes us suffering because things don't last. Things are an illusion. So, like it says here, by knowing that everything is actually an illusion and the way I see things is just my perspective, it will stop your thoughts of attachment. So it's too short. I know, I understand that.
Next time.
Yeah, next time I'll go more deeply into emptiness. But don't be scared of emptiness, because without emptiness, nothing would be, nothing could happen. It's only because of things are empty of their own intrinsic nature. So intrinsic nature means their own single nature. There is nothing that has its own single nature, because if there was, it would be permanent. And if it was permanent, it would mean that it had always been here, it will always be here, and it can never change. And there is nothing in the universe that is permanent. So by getting attached to things and thinking this is mine, it's an illusion. It isn't yours. And it's not even there. It's just the way we see it. I don't know. Does that make any sense? A little bit, maybe. Okay, it's a bit of an ending there. But anyway, I want you to just think about it a moment. Just think about the things you get attached to. So just think, just reflect for a moment. What is the one thing you get attached to? First, bring that up in your mind. Just one thing. That what am I attached to? And then think of this. Is this thing permanent? Is this thing made of just one thing? Or is it a coming together? Because if it is a coming together, then it's impermanent. And if it is impermanent, why am I getting attached? Why am I getting attached to it? So just close your eyes and go through that process. Think of the thing you're attached to. Think, is it impermanent, or is it made up of different parts? And if it is made up of different parts, then just understand it's impermanent, and you're trying to hold on to something that doesn't really exist in the way that you think it does. Okay, so then open your eyes. So is anybody attached to anything that was permanent? No? I thought not. Okay. So when we get attached to things, it causes us suffering because the thing we're getting attached to, it's like today we were, what is he? What relation is he to me, Andrew? I don't know. He's a relation of some sort. Anyway, he has a little 5-year-old girl and they were trying to teach her attachment. And then she says, oh, but she calls me Uncle Ben. That's not my name, but anyway, don't matter. So she says,
Maybe that's it, it's your name.
yeah,
Sorry.
but Ben is not it. So anyway, she called me Uncle Ben. And so they were trying to say that, you know, attachment is not a good thing. So, and then she said that, so does Uncle Ben not love anybody then? And I said, no, it's not about that. So he asked me, what is it about? So I said to him, it's like, teach it to her, that it's like having a balloon and holding that balloon and getting attached to that and holding it tightly, and the balloon will burst and you'll lose it. But if you just hold the balloon lightly, then you can enjoy. So attachment is that. If you get attached to something, you're going to lose it because nothing is permanent. But if you just hold it lightly and just be there and let it be what it is, then you'll get so much pleasure out of it. It will go, but while you're just holding it lightly, you enjoy it. While you're holding it too tightly, like the balloon, it will burst and you'll lose it. So that is attachment. So by not getting attached, it doesn't mean you don't love somebody. And this is where we think the opposite of attachment is actually love. Because when we love something, then we step back and let it be what it is. When we attach something, it's more about us and it's about control. You see, love is about them or the thing we like. Attachment is about you and holding on tightly. You hold on tightly, thinking that it's mine. You're going to, and it will lose it because we always lose it, and you will suffer. When you're just letting it be and enjoying it in the moment, then okay, it will disappear. But you know that, so then you don't get attached to it. So it's like if you were walking, I'll finish now. If you were walking in a garden and there was a beautiful flower and you bent down, oh, it's so fragrant, so beautiful. And you took it up and you took it home and you put it in a vase in your house. That's attachment. If you left the flower there to be a flower and leave it for everybody to notice and to enjoy, that's love. There's a huge difference between love and attachment. And attachment is going to cause you suffering because the way that we see things is wrong. We see things as permanent and they're not. They're an illusion. Okay, that's enough. So, are there any final questions? You know, I thought today, got 2 hours. I mean, I'm not sure if I can meant to spend 2 hours on this. It's been 2 hours and I could still go on longer. Anyway, I won't. You're lucky.
You've talked a lot about the ego.
Mm.
Do you know anybody that doesn't have an ego?
You see, that's what I'm saying. We all have an ego. It's your seventh consciousness. We all have that sense of self. We all have it, but we need to control it and overpower it and take back control of it. What happens is that you see, even people like Dalai Lama and people who are, far more, enlightened or far more awakened than us, they have ego. Of course they do. We're born with an ego, but they don't allow that ego to control them. So you're not trying to take out that seventh consciousness. What you're trying to do is work with it and not let it control you. You control it. Yeah. So that ego is controlling your thoughts, and that's what we're trying to do here, is to work with our thoughts and take back control of our thought process. So, it doesn't matter if you're awakened or not. Anger will come, but you'll let it come and go. You won't engage with it. There might be a little bit of pride somewhere there, but you don't engage with it. So then it loses its power. So you're never going to lose emotions and things like you don't want to lose emotions. So you'll end up like a cabbage. I mean, we need emotions to tell stories, yeah. So you're not going to lose that ego. That ego will be there, but it won't be controlling you.
Can I ask a quick question?
No. Yeah.
What does present moment plays in Buddhism? What role does present moment plays in Buddhism?
What role does what?
Present moment.
Present moment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There is only present moment. There is no other moment. Past is gone, so that's gone. That's not here now. The future hasn't arrived yet. All we have is the present moment. It is the most important thing. But we spend so much time on things that have gone or things that haven't come yet, and we miss the present moment. So mindfulness is all about trying to bring ourselves back to that. That's another 2-hour teaching I could go on. But it's really important. You only have this moment, and now this moment, and then this moment. Yeah, so we only have the present moment. The other 2 moments are gone. So really there isn't 3 moments. I mean, we say past, present, future. All there is present. There is no real past because there is no real future, yeah. We only have this time here. And we miss it because we're so engaged with that or engaged with that, and then this is gone. And when you miss a present moment, it will never come back. So it's not like the end of the day and you look back and think, oh, I've missed 25 moments, so I'll sit and have them now. Gone. And it's when we miss those present moments, it's when at those times that your thoughts and your emotions will control you because your mind has gone off. And so you're not in the present moment. So then you're not aware of your thought process. So then you're being led. So the present moment is hugely important if you want to implement these, because we can only implement all of that in the present moment. That's a great question. Thank you. I'm glad I let you ask it.
Sort of interest that. When you're, for instance, in the garden enjoying the present moment while the blackbirds are taking your red currants to be their offspring, for instance, you're in that present moment, watching nature happen. But when you're remembering it afterwards, you're now no longer in the present moment.
No, you aren't. It's just a memory, but that isn't. And your memory's false. Let's be honest. When we look back, our memories change over time. So we never remember the whole thing. It's like when you went and you had a good time and I had a really nice picnic in that. You forget about the 2-hour traffic jam to get there. So when you look back later on, oh yeah, remember we had such a good time. You filter out. And over time, your memory changes. Your memory cannot be trusted. You should never trust your memory.
Even when it's something delightful, like having watched the blackbirds today.
Yeah, it's nice to think about that, isn't it? because it brings up the same happy emotions. But your mind will tell you stories about that. So it'll be the hottest day of the year. If you think about, oh, last year, the hottest day, there was these blackbirds and you'll just embellish it. Our mind does that. And it will pick out the things that weren't so good in that day. Maybe there was lots of flies around or something. We'll just filter that out. So memories can't be trusted. We should never trust that memory. So yeah, we have the ability. That's why we can't be 100% mindful, because we have memories. But that's all they are. They're not a time. And when we plan and look to the future, again, it's not a real time because it hasn't happened. The only real time is now in the present moment. There is no other time.
You say, which is past, knowledge is being past and present, you know.
But there is no past and present.
No, it likes you to live there.
Oh, your mind. Oh, yeah, of course it does. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes we can't face up to the present moment. So it's nice to look back and dream about the past. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that's wrong, but we spend too much time looking back to the past or looking to the future and planning, or not even planning. I mean, planning is one thing, but a lot of the time in the future, we're not planning. We're just making up the worst case scenario. Oh no, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And because we've made up that story, now in the present moment, we're anxious. But we have nothing to be anxious about because that's just a fantasy, an imagination, a story. All we have is the present moment. That's all you have. Okay, now I've taken up far too many of your moments.
Not at all.
Yeah, I've gone over time.
It's gone very quickly.
Yeah, it has gone quickly. So thank you to the people who were online. I hope you could hear and I hope you got some benefit from this. And are you going to say?
Yes, I'll hear.
Yeah, then over to you. So anyway, so just before you go, I want you to just close your eyes 1 second and imagine that whatever benefit, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, whatever little benefit you got from today, just dedicate that now to all beings. Okay. So thank you so much for having me here again. I hope it has been of some benefit to you, so you had something to dedicate there. And I'll see you again whenever I can. So namaste.
Thank you very much. A few words for, it's not for my cocktail. Oh, no, it's just right. Yes, as always, very illuminating. Thank you for clarifying quite a few things or introducing it for the first time to those who have not come across Lodrong. I don't know what I want to say. Well, I want to say thank you. May I just say, this is a prolific author for those who do not know, and this is his most recent volume. And he has left these with us. 10 copies of the counting. Anyway, we have a number of copies which we'll underwrite, and if you want to buy them, then £5 each. That's undercutting.
Yeah, it was £8 or £9. I don't know, something like that.
We've got a good deal here. Okay, so
because you're my
that. And you can't say yet when you will be back in Blighton.
Yeah, I don't know when.
No,
but I will be back.
2 years. I'll be.
Stick around, I'll be back.
Thank you. Also, thank you to Michael, who also goes down in the group. Yeah. As he's just discovered.
I'm hoping walking.
Thank you. Enjoy the sake sitting, your brother-in-law and sitting through.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad one, sir. That's one of the better ones.
It was.
Wow, I feel proud.
I'll give you discuss it. Thank you a bit more.
And 2 hours has gone very quickly. So we would like to show up this station. And we do look forward to seeing you.
Mm.
Another.
Yes, I'll definitely be back next year.
Okay.
It won't be this year, no, next
No,
year.
no, of course, it's next year.
I don't think you want to see me twice.
No, yeah, every 2 years now. So.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be next year. No.
Oh, excellent. Oh,
Yeah.
we look forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We can have some refreshments if anyone cares to.